It took me a while, but I was definitely going to bring a review about this fantastic movie that I've just watched. In the movie is definitely a worthwhile conclusion to this epic adventure that James Gunn brought us in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. They brought me emotions that I did not imagine that a Marvel movie could bring me, especially at this time with movies of Marvel letting us down, and this one brought us some great light to it. So let's talk about this amazing conclusion in this video. So just don't forget to leave a like, please. Don't forget to subscribe to understand these aspects of this fantastic movie, and let's go with this review. So first of all, I'm going to talk about characters that I've seen in this movie, and that some points that I'm going to bring it. Of course, the movie was so amazing that I'm probably going to bring better balances to the characters than, bad reviews. So let's talk about the smaller characters than to the bigger one, okay? So let's talk about first Cosmo and then James Gunn's brother. First of all, Cosmo was just fun and so powerful that I was just enjoying seeing him in screen, her in screen all the time. She was in the collector's collection, so go there to another reference, and of course she's a reference to that Russian dog that was sent to space. And she had very good visuals as well. The CGI of her wasn't strange at all, worked out so well. In the movie as well, the visuals were great, but I think she got the appearance that she needed to, and of course she had a bigger role in the end when she needed to hold that ship for the animals and that kids to arrive at that ship. I think she got an amazing role, and she got a very nice duel with James Gunn's brother. And of course I didn't imagine that he would be so powerful with that arrow that Yondu had. He had even had a moment where he saw a glimpse of Yondu saying like, use your heart to control this arrow, and that for me was the pinnacle of the movie, where he needed to overcome challenges for this weapon. And he had a bigger role as well because he needed to pilot that nowhere, which was actually now a ship, and they made that place so fun because it was just an abandoned place, and then it's now a base for people from all around the galaxy. And let's talk about a little bit more the Guardians now. First of all, I'm gonna talk about Gamora because she is now, we need to understand how she is a different Gamora. She's a different character that she was playing since the other one. Of course she has a similar personality as she had, but she had so many different memories from the old one that she's now a different person, a completely different person. So of course she's not going to have the same relations that she had with Peter. It's not gonna happen. So you see this development of her, and then after, in the end, where she understands her role and Peter understands her role as well, and then she discovers a family with Stallone and the Scavengers, and I think was wholesome. And even though we did not have any relationships with the Scavengers, we were happy to see what happened to it. She had amazing fighting skills as always, and of course that corridor scene that we saw in the trailer, she had a major role in it, and it was just amazing. And Nebula, of course, she had a new ability with that arm. For me, was visually a spectacle. It looked like that villain that we saw in Thor 1, where it's the, I forgot the name, which is the end. For me, her comedy got the best of her, because I think the Christmas special was a little bit bad, and in this movie I think all the comedy stuff that she did was just phenomenal, and she had a very good development of her emotional depth, and she got her path redeemed as a hero, because she was almost looking like a villain for the whole time, because she was hurt because of Thanos, part of a bigger experiment of just opening her and then making her parts of robotic arms and then torturing her all the way. And I think she got a redemption arc that was working so well in the end of this movie. And talking about fun parts, I think Drax got the best role for me here, because he was funnier than ever. Of course, he is not willing to keep up with that muscle, so it's all the time with the shirt on. He had it in the last Christmas special, so in this one worked as well, because he still was badass. Even though with the comedy, I think James Gunn mixed it well with these two things, like the comedy and the action, and he had a fantastic relationship with Mantis. And at the end, where they were tearing apart, I think one of the most emotional parts in the movie, because I was feeling it, because they had such a good chemistry, and then they going apart for me was sad, but I think it was part of the Mantis story to keep up. And to see him finally becoming a father again, to see him finally going back to his origin, because he was a father and was taken away from him, her daughter, and then he's going to be technically a father with all those kids that they rescued from the villain, and I think it's just perfect ending for him. And then for Mantis, as I said, I think the only problem with her, I think she could have used more her psychic powers instead of just in the end. And I think she evolved really well since the second movie, because she was just a side character and then she became a more complex character, being, finally Peter's sister. And as I said, when she left, it made me cry a lot, but I think her comedy stuff with Drax was just phenomenal. They were a completely fine duo, and I was just so happy. I hope to see more of her. Then Groot, I don't think we have to say a lot of things about Groot. Just to say, like, his design at the end was just so amazing, huge, and you could see his emotion hugging Rocket when he was alive finally. And for me, that was a very hard emotional part, and it's a part where you're understanding what Groot is saying, and it's the final connection that we're having with him, and we're finally having that great connection as a family to him, and understanding how they understand Groot. It's like they have a good connection with him. I think it could have been used better in some emotional parts, mainly because of Rocket, but in final sequences, I think are just phenomenal with him. He's just amazing overall. Then Peter, come on, Peter, I think he delivered one of the best emotional things in this movie. I'm gonna talk a little bit later, but he's funny as ever. Like, he had so many parts where he was just funny. There are many other parts that we see him finally taking over as a leader and seeing the responsibilities that he's having, and also delivering some incredible emotional scenes. Like, for example, I think for me this scene got me goosebumps every time that I saw it, which was at the end where he goes to Earth and then he sees his grandfather. For me, like, meeting people, meeting familiars that we don't see for a long time, and then we see them again. I think this is one of the best moments that we could ever have. And of course, I have a grandpa that I look up to, so I had a very good connection with that scene. I think it's just so amazing. And then, of course, at the end, I couldn't forget about Rocket. Of course, he had such an emotional background in the movie. He was the main character of this movie, of course, even though he appeared just in the end. Like, we saw his backstory with the High Evolutionary, and they gave us a good, at least, idea of how smart he really is, because I think in the end game we just thought it was a crazy rat that was doing some dumb things. But of course, you need to remember that he was the one who did the Infinity Gauntlet with Iron Man and Hulk, and you can see how smart he is. He's probably smarter than both of them, and they gave us really emphasis in this part. And of course, his development and how he became this leader, and how he's now the leader of the Guardians, and then seeing how badly he was treated by the High Evolutionary, where he was just an experiment to be torn apart and then just be destroyed, and see how he lost all of his friends and his family that were also experiments. And you see that I think the only part for me that lacked in this experiments, because they were so scary, and of course I think showing them all their sides, like, they are scary but they are fragile at the same time. I think this nuance that the director brought, I think this was amazing to develop those characters, and of course to make the story, I think, richer. And he's now definitely one of the top 5 favorite characters of all time. Like, I need an action figure from Rocket. He's just so amazing. I was so happy for him. And let's talk about the 2 final characters that I left that were actually the newer characters, you can say that, which was Adam Warlock. Was he disappointing? I think for me he was a little bit, because I have a perspective of him, like, I didn't read, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, but I've played, for example, the video game that we have on PlayStation, and I have a perspective of him like being the serious guy, very powerful guy, and this profession that they brought in the video game where he needed to help the Guardians, and he was extremely powerful. I think they brought this idea that he was really powerful, but I think him being too naive or being too funny, I think James Gunn went a little bit sideways with it. I respect his idea, because he needed to show, like, if he was like a kid, like he was born just yesterday, but he is so powerful like a god, and being part of this race that the High Evolutionary developed from scratch, and having this idea of him, I think I didn't like it a lot, but I respect the character, I respect the visuals for him that were just really good, and him showing how powerful he was, like how easy he beat up the Guardians and almost killed Rocket. I think they gave his importance, but like in the development of the movie, I think he was a little bit turned away. I hope they make like a new Guardians of the Galaxy movie and make him ride this time, make him develop him more, because I didn't like him at first, at least. And how good was this villain? Okay, I think the High Evolutionary surprised me a lot because it showed him how crazy he was and how powerful he was, because it showed him, like, for example, he's literally a god because of how many civilizations he created from scratch. It doesn't say how many years he's had, but like he has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, because how powerful he is and how many years he spent developing his ideas and his techniques of really developing these techniques of making a whole world. And I think he delivered this so well, this idea of the director, which was showing that he didn't really want to create he really wanted to create the perfect species, but it's similarly impossible to create it because it's perfect behind his own eyes and his own vision. Because to be completely honest, he just didn't like things they were, and I think Rocket put some point on that. I think he was just so menacing, and of course he didn't have that crazy visual, but he had this idea of being so powerful and so menacing, and he was just such a fantastic actor. We saw him in also with James Gunn and the Peacemaker, and I think he was really even better right now. I was missing him, and I think the characters of this movie are just fantastic. I think this was the best part of the movie. And to be honest, let's just understand, like, was the conclusion to this movie good? As I said, the conclusion to all those characters, I think James Gunn managed to roll all of the conclusions of all of the characters and made them develop throughout the movie, and then made us watch this movie with the hindsight of like it's over, like they develop all these characters to the max. I think they're gonna appear at some point later, but I think they develop him to almost like a pinnacle of their story, and I think the way that he did was just phenomenal. I think the story that he told was just fantastic, mixing the perfect way of comedy and drama. I think it was just fabulous, was phenomenal. It was I think for me, to be completely honest with you, it is the best movie out of the trilogy. I think it is close to the first one because the first one we didn't have any expectations to it and delivered something fantastic. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies ever, my favorite superhero movies. The second one, I think they had a huge expectation to it. It delivered something really nice, but I think it lacked something in the story. I just can't say right now why. And in the third movie, I think they had the huge expectation as well, and we were hoping to have a great movie too, because we were let down by so many Marvel movies from these years right now, and then they just came with one of the best Marvel movies ever, and I think they managed to make a great ending for this fantastic story with just fantastic actors, fantastic characters, and this amazing story that concluded this arc of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And who knows what they're gonna bring with just the Star-Lord or the new cast of the Guardians of the Galaxy, that, to be honest, they are even more powerful now, which makes it interesting. So let's see what they are waiting for us in the future. Of course, James Gunn is not gonna be in any project sooner. He's just gonna be at DC working on their new cinematic universe, and I'm hoping to see what he's gonna bring to the table in DC. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll definitely see you guys on the next video, on the next review. So goodbye and peace.